Here on the TI-84 graphing calculator, I'd like to show you some of the basics of how we can work with matrices here. So to do so, you'll need to use this button that you see right here that's got the X with the superscript -1. Since above that button in blue lettering there is the word matrix. So to access that, you're going to have to push the blue button, of course, first, which is the second button there. And then you can push that X with the superscript -1, and it'll bring up this menu right here. So to be able to define what your matrices are in terms of the dimensions and elements, you need to use the edit column over here. So if I arrow over to that, then you can choose what matrix it is that you want to edit. So if I wanted to edit, let's say matrix D, I can either down arrow to that and then hit enter, or you could also push the number 4 to access that. And then here's where you can change the dimensions of the matrix. So you can add or subtract columns and rows. So let's make this a 2 by 2. How about? And I'm just going to enter in some random numbers. Each time you put in an element, you got to make sure you hit enter or equals each time. Alright, so I've defined matrix D. So if you want to define some more matrices, of course you can. Just go back to the matrix menu and then over to edit, to edit a matrix, and then edit matrix H, let's say. And let's make H also be a 2 by 2. Alright, great. So now I'm going to quit out of this, so do second quit. So I just go back to the normal place where you can enter in, 9 minus 3 and that sort of stuff. So I'm going to try to do some different sorts of operations in math with matrices right now using this menu right here. So to choose the matrices that you want to use, you can go to second matrix. But now in this column where it says names, this is where you can choose the matrices. We don't need to edit them anymore since we've defined some of them. So if I wanted to use, let's say, matrix D, I can press 4, and then matrix D shows up right there. So what I can do is I can add, subtract, multiply, whatever I want to do. So if I wanted to say multiply D with H, then I could just, I don't even need to hit times, I can just go back to matrices and then choose number 8 for matrix H. So you have D and H right next to each other, and if you hit enter or equals, then it just gives you the answer for multiplication. So of course you can, input a number first. So if you want to do 3 times a matrix, then just go to the matrices and then choose the matrix that you want to choose. So if I want to do 3 times H, you can do that, and add, subtract, all that sort of stuff. You're also able to do other sorts of operations with matrices. So if you go to the matrix menu, and then if you go to that second column, which is math, then you're able to find different sorts of stuff, some things we haven't talked about quite yet. But for example, like number 1 right there, you see is DET, which would be the determinant of a matrix. So you can choose that, DET, and then go back to the matrices again and choose what matrix it is that you want to find a determinant for. So if you want to choose matrix D, then you can find the determinant of that, and it'll tell you it's going to be -67. And then similarly, you can also do inverses for matrices. So if you wanted to do an inverse, you actually want to use this button right here that's got the -1 in the superscript. So first you're going to need to put the matrix in that you want to find the inverse for. So if I do second matrix, and let's say we wanted to take matrix H. So you just hit the X, the -1 sort of button right there, and it's going to find the inverse of matrix H and give that to you as you see it right there. So when it gives you decimals like that, and if you want to know exactly what those fractions are, you can definitely do so. So if you did so, you can go to the math button that you see right here, and then right there, the very first thing that you see will convert it to fractions. So you just hit enter, and then it'll show answer to fraction, and then you hit enter on that, and then it's just going to give you the inverse in terms of fractions there.